Have you ever found yourself in a situation where, I mean, you know exactly what you're supposed to do, but your brain just decides, nope, we're going in the complete opposite direction?
Oh, absolutely. It's a very common human experience.
I know I have. I remember when I was first trying meditation, the instruction was, well, so simple. Yeah. Just pay attention to your breath. Sounds easy.
Deceptively simple, yes.
But I'd be sitting there on these silent retreats, uh, totally convinced I was doing it wrong. I was practically sweating through my t-shirts in winter
Hmm.
or, taking naps every chance I got, just desperate for an escape. It felt like genuinely exhausting work, trying to force my mind to focus, trying to force myself to change.
And that struggle, that feeling of pushing against yourself,
Yeah.
what's truly remarkable, maybe even a little humbling, is that it isn't just some personal failing. It's actually us going head to head with, well, one of the most fundamental, evolutionarily conserved learning processes known in science.
Wow. Okay. So we're fighting biology.
In a way, yes. Our brains are incredibly efficient at learning, at creating these really powerful associations, solidifying behaviors into routines. But sometimes that very efficiency, that hardwired mechanism, actually works against us.
Right. Guiding us down paths we know aren't good for us.
Exactly. Paths that might be unhelpful or even, harmful.
That makes sense. So for you, our listener, our mission for this deep dive is to really unpack this powerful learning process. We want to understand why it makes certain habits so incredibly sticky.
Hmm.
And then, crucially, discover this surprisingly simple yet profoundly effective twist that can help us break free.
And it's not about fighting our brains with brute force,
Well,
right?
exactly. It's more about tapping into their natural mechanisms in a whole new, smarter way. We'll be diving into some fascinating insights from Judson Brewer's work here.
It's really compelling stuff.
Okay, so let's unpack this core mechanism then. We often pin bad habits on, like a lack of willpower, if only I had more discipline.
Right, the self-blame cycle.
Yeah, but what if there's something deeper? A more fundamental algorithm at play, something just ingrained in how our brains learn from day one.
That's precisely the key insight. What's really fascinating here is how our brains operate on this reward-based learning system. You hear it called positive and negative reinforcement to forge these neural pathways we eventually call habits.
Okay, reward-based learning.
Yeah, think of it as a really efficient three-step loop. Trigger, behavior, reward.
Trigger, behavior, reward. Got it.
And to really grasp its power, let's start with a basic survival example. Imagine our early ancestors out foraging. You see some berries, they look appealing.
Yeah.
That visual cue, that's the trigger.
Okay.
Your brain lights up, basically signaling calories, sweetness, survival. Then you reach out and eat the berries. That's the behavior.
Makes sense.
They taste good. Your body sends this rush of feel-good chemicals back to the brain, signaling, remember this, remember what you ate and where you found it. That feeling, that satisfaction, that's the reward.
Ah, okay, so the brain locks it in.
Exactly. It quickly lays down what's called a context-dependent memory. It hardwires you to repeat that process next time. See berries, eat berries, feel good, repeat. It's remarkably simple, but incredibly effective for survival.
So fundamentally, our brains are just trying to be helpful, right? Remembering where the good stuff is so we can thrive.
Pretty much, yeah. That's the evolutionary advantage.
But here's where it gets, well, really interesting and maybe a bit unsettling too. How does this basic survival mechanism get hijacked? How does it get repurposed for habits that are less helpful, maybe even genuinely harmful in our modern lives?
Yeah, this raises a really important question.
Yeah.
How do our highly adaptive and, let's face it, quite creative brains extend this loop beyond just basic survival?
Right.
Think about something like emotional eating. The trigger isn't actual hunger. It might be an emotional state, feeling bad, sad, stressed, maybe lonely after a tough day.
Okay, the feeling is the trigger.
Yes. The behavior then becomes reaching for that pint of ice cream or the chips or whatever your comfort food is.
In a reward.
Well, it's a temporary feeling of comfort, right? A brief escape from those uncomfortable emotions. But the brain quickly logs it. Feeling bad, eat this, feel better, even if it's fleeting.
Ah, I see that pattern.
Or think about a social habit, maybe like starting to smoke as a teenager. You see the cool kids or the rebel kids smoking. That desire to fit in, to be cool, that becomes the trigger.
Wanting acceptance.
Exactly. The behavior's lighting up, smoking the cigarette, and the reward, it's that perceived feeling of fitting in, of being part of the group.
Even if it's just perception.
Right. And each time you repeat one of these loops, the emotional eating, the smoking, It strengthens that connection. It forges a deeper neural pathway, eventually turning it into this deeply ingrained, almost automatic habit. Later on, just feeling stressed might trigger that same urge to smoke or raid the pantry.
Wow. And when you connect that to the bigger picture,
Hmm.
it's actually quite stark, almost chilling.
It is.
Whether it's stress eating or smoking or maybe even doom scrolling online, these very same brain processes, originally designed for our survival, can ironically lead us down paths that are, well, detrimental.
Hmm.
Sometimes literally killing us or at least really diminishing our quality of life.
It really highlights the incredible, almost terrifying power of these loops once they get established.
Yeah.
How easily they can kind of take the wheel.
Okay, so given how powerful these loops are, how deeply grooved they get, our natural reaction is often to fight them with sheer willpower, isn't it?
That's the go-to strategy for many people.
Like my experience trying to force myself to pay attention in meditation, or people trying to just stop smoking cold turkey, thinking they just need more discipline.
Hmm.
But, I mean, we all kind of know how that usually goes. It often feels like a losing battle, right? A cycle of try, fail, feel worse.
Indeed. And it's not just a feeling. Just like your struggle with those meditation retreats, studies consistently be this. People trying to quit smoking, for instance, they often fail repeatedly.
How many times?
On average, it's something like 6 times before they might succeed, if they succeed at all using just willpower.
6 times. Wow.
And this isn't a moral failing. It's crucial to understand that. It really highlights the severe inherent limitations of purely cognitive control. It's not just about a lack of discipline.
So what is it then?
Well, think about our prefrontal cortex. It's evolutionarily the youngest part of our brain, responsible for our intellect, executive functions, controlling impulses.
The thinking part.
Right, the rational part. But here's the kicker. It's also the first part of our brain to go offline when we're stressed or tired or overwhelmed.
Ah, okay. That makes sense.
We can all relate to this,
Yeah.
right? Snapping at family when we're exhausted, saying something we regret under pressure, even though our rational brain knows better.
Definitely.
When that prefrontal cortex takes a little vacation, even briefly, we inevitably fall back into our old, deeply grooved automatic habits. The older, more automatic parts of the brain just take over.
So, if forcing ourselves doesn't work, if willpower isn't the magic bullet we thought it was, then what is the twist?
Right.
What's the alternative? Is there a way to tap into that natural reward-based learning process, but with a completely different approach? One that doesn't involve wrestling our prefrontal cortex into submission?
This is where the really profound and maybe counterintuitive power of curiosity comes into play.
Curiosity, how does that work?
Well, think about it. What if, instead of trying to suppress or fight the urge, you actually lean into it with a sense of genuine inquiry?
Lean into the craving. That
Yeah.
sounds weird.
It does sound weird. But in one lab study, researchers told people struggling with smoking not to force themselves to quit. They told them to do something radically different. Go ahead and smoke, but be really curious about what it was actually like.
Just notice.
Yes. Pay close, non-judgmental attention to every sensation, every flavor, every smell, every texture, and the results. They were truly illuminating.
What did they find?
We had one smoker vividly describe her mindful smoking experience. She said, and I'm quoting roughly here, "Mindful smoking smells like stinky cheese and tastes like chemicals, Y-U-C-K."
Stinky cheese. Wow, that's not exactly rewarding.
Not at all. And that's quite a transformation, isn't it? She went from knowing in her head that smoking was bad for her, which of course she already knew. That's why she joined the program.
Right. Everyone knows that intellectually.
Exactly. To knowing it in her bones. The spell was broken. She discovered firsthand, through direct experience, that the perceived reward wasn't actually rewarding at all. In fact, it's kind of disgusting.
So it's moving from intellectual knowledge to something deeper.
Precisely. We call it moving from knowledge to visceral wisdom. It's like knowing intellectually that junk food is bad, but still craving it.
Yeah.
Visceral wisdom is when you really feel the sluggishness, the crash, the discomfort after eating it, and your body itself genuinely loses interest. For this smoker, she became truly disenchanted with the behavior.
Disenchanted. I like that word. It's key. Because this disenchantment means we're just less interested in doing the harmful behavior in the first place, rather than having to constantly restrain ourselves through sheer exhausting willpower. The desire itself starts to dissolve.
Okay, what really stands out to me here is the paradox. Our normal impulse is to push cravings away, right? Distract ourselves, make them disappear.
The avoidance instinct.
But this mindfulness approach, it's about getting close and personal with what's actually happening inside us. How does turning towards something unpleasant, like a craving, actually help you break free? It feels counterintuitive.
It absolutely does feel counterintuitive at first.
Yeah.
But the willingness to turn toward our experience, rather than trying to make those unpleasant cravings vanish instantly, is profoundly supported by curiosity.
Okay.
And what's fascinating here is that curiosity itself feels good. It's naturally rewarding. Exploring, discovering, learning something new, it taps into these really fundamental human drives.
So curiosity has its own reward. Exactly. And when we approach cravings with genuine curiosity, we start to notice something really powerful. We see that cravings aren't these huge, scary, monolithic forces that just overwhelm us and demand to be fed.
They feel that way sometimes.
They do. But when you look closely, they're actually just made up of, well, bite-sized transient body sensations, maybe some tightness in the chest, tension in the jaw, restlessness, a subtle pull.
Little physical feelings.
Yes. And the key insight is that these sensations come and go. They ebb and flow like waves. This allows us to manage them moment to moment instead of being clobbered by what feels like this unstoppable permanent urge. We realize we don't have to act on every single one.
So instead of being swept away by the habit, we step out of that old kind of fear-based reactive pattern.
Precisely.
We become almost like an inner scientist, just eagerly awaiting the next data point, observing our own inner landscape with a sense of detached fascination.
That's a great analogy.
It sounds almost too simple, though, just observing. Does this seemingly subtle shift actually work in practice, like beyond just anecdotes?
Oh, absolutely. The evidence is quite robust, actually. In one randomized controlled trial, mindfulness training focused on this curious awareness was found to be twice as good as gold standard therapy, like the American Lung Association's program, at helping people quit smoking long-term.
Twice as good. That's significant.
Very significant. And if we connect this to what's happening in the brain, studies on experienced meditators give us a tangible neurological basis for why this works so well.
Okay, what do they show?
Researchers looked at brain activity, particularly the default mode network, that's often called the brain's autopilot or mind-wandering network.
Right.
A key hub in this network, the posterior cingulate cortex, or PCC, which is involved in self-referential thought and processing cravings. It activates intensely, not just when a craving is present, but specifically when we get caught up in it, when it grabs our attention and takes us for a ride.
When we're lost in the craving story.
Exactly. Yeah. But here's the remarkable part. When these meditators let go of that narrative, when they simply observed the craving with curious awareness, that same brain region, the PCC, quieted down.
Wow, so the brain is literally stepping out of the habit loop.
It seems that way. It's disengaging its autopilot from those unhelpful thought patterns associated with the craving. It's like a physiological signature of letting go, observable in brain activity.
That is incredible. And this isn't just confined to a meditation cushion or a clinical lab, right? This understanding is being applied with technology too, using the very tools that often drive our distraction to help us more free.
Yes, exactly. That's one of the really exciting developments. The beauty is that this isn't just theory. App and online-based mindfulness training programs are being actively developed to target these core mechanisms.
So you can get help on your phone.
Precisely. Delivering these powerful tools directly to people's fingertips, often in the very context where the habits manifest. It cleverly uses that principle of context-dependent memory we talked about earlier.
Right. Learning in this situation.
Yes, helping you tap into that capacity for curious awareness right when an urge to smoke or stress eat or maybe compulsively check your phone actually arises. You learn to bring that mindful attention to the exact moment the habit loop usually kicks in.
Okay, so let's bring this home for you, our listener. Even if you don't smoke or stress eat, think about those everyday habits. The ones that feel automatic, maybe even undesirable, but you just keep doing them.
We all have them.
Yeah, maybe it's checking email constantly when you're bored or waiting in line. Or compulsively responding to a text message while driving, even though you know you shouldn't.
Or procrastination. Maybe endless scrolling on social media, biting your nails.
Right. Even my own struggle with trying to force focus during meditation. If I'd understood then what we've discussed today, if I'd approached those moments of mental wandering or agitation with curiosity instead of fighting.
Asking, what does this restlessness feel like?
Exactly. Where is it in my body instead of just battling it? Maybe I wouldn't have been sweating through my shirts quite so much.
It certainly offers a different path. So this raises an important question for you, the listener, to explore. What happens if you apply this principle to your own seemingly small but maybe pervasive habit loops?
Okay.
Instead of that familiar sequence, see the text notification, compulsively text back. Get that fleeting hit of connection or distraction. Consider trying this different path.
What would that look like?
The next time that notification buzzes or that urge to grab your phone arises, just pause,
Pause.
just for a moment.
Pause.
Notice the urge. Get really curious, intimately curious about the sensations in your body and mind. What's the subtle pull feel like? Is there mental agitation, physical tension?
Just observe it.
Observe them as they come and go, like clouds passing. And then feel the joy, maybe the empowerment, that surprising sense of freedom that comes from letting go of the need to react immediately.
The reward of letting go.
Yes. And then repeat that process. Each moment, each urge isn't a failure. It's a fresh opportunity to step out of that old loop and essentially rewire your brain. It's about consciously choosing observation over automatic reaction.
And in doing that, cultivating a deeper, more visceral understanding of what actually serves you.
Exactly.
So what we've really explored today is that breaking bad habits isn't always about brute force or endless willpower or some kind of heroic battle against yourself.
In fact, that approach is often counterproductive.
Right. Instead, it's about this subtle yet really profound shift in how we engage with our own experiences. It's about replacing judgment and resistance with this open, non-judgmental curiosity. And ultimately finding that visceral disenchantment with behaviors that no longer serve us, which allows us to naturally, almost effortlessly, let them go.
The insights from this deep dive really show us that our brains are these incredibly sophisticated learning machines. And we absolutely can leverage that wiring, not by fighting against it, but by working with its fundamental reward-based mechanisms in a new way.
Working with, not against.
Exactly. So the next time an urge arises, whether it's for that cigarette, that snack, that distraction, maybe even that moment of procrastination, you have a powerful choice. You can perpetuate another exhaustive habit loop that you're constantly trying to fight.
Which is tiring.
Very tiring. Or you can choose to step out of it simply by being curiously aware, noticing what's actually happening in your direct experience, and allowing that visceral wisdom to emerge.
So what does this all mean for you, listening right now? Consider what bad habit you might be ready to unravel. Not by battling it into submission, but maybe, just maybe, by simply getting intimately, perhaps even playfully curious about it.
What might you discover?
Yeah, what might you discover about its true taste, its actual feeling, or its real consequences?
Right.
And how might that very act of curiosity itself become its own surprising and profoundly liberating reward?